Welcome to Wiseheads, where some of the sharpest minds in business share practical thinking to help you build a better business and make better business decisions. This week, I'm delighted to be joined by Gareth O'Connor. Gareth is a strategic consultant that helps leadership teams get to the root of business challenges, define clearer strategic direction, and make better decisions. For more than 20 years, he's worked across some of New Zealand's biggest brands and organizations, helping leaders cut through complexity and focus on what actually drives growth. Today, we're talking about decisions. Why do businesses so often mistake activity for progress? Why do strategy documents frequently change nothing? And what separates businesses that consistently make good decisions from those that find themselves constantly busy but never quite moving forward? Gareth, thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Gareth, tell us a little bit about yourself and the journey that's led you to become so interested in strategy, growth, and decision-making.
I did marketing at university, so I was always interested in that side of things, of how do businesses grow, how do they influence decisions and choices, how does one business win over another one. And then my life started in media, so I worked in media agencies, creative agencies, full-service agencies, but predominantly in strategy roles. So I was just always very interested in trying to understand what is holding businesses back, why do some businesses win and others don't, and what could we do to help clients' businesses gain disproportionate share of mind? And then, of course, disproportionate share of market as much as possible. You get those people who are in strategy roles who either fell into it or they were more interested in the creative side of the business, but they weren't creative. But I always loved great ads. I wanted to get into that space more than anything else because at the time it was still cool. It was exciting. It was fast paced. You met loads of amazing people from all walks of life. This job allows you to do that, right? You work with a whole host of industries, whole host of categories, whole host of businesses. It's always just kept me interested. There's no denying that there's an awful lot of people in strategy roles in advertising whose minds could be much better used to solve the world's problems. Maybe one day, there is no doubt being valuable to other people to help them achieve what they're trying to do is a wonderful outcome and payoff of doing this job.
You've said that most organizations don't have an execution problem, they have a clarity problem. What do you mean by that?
I've worked with an awful lot of businesses over the years. And again, these are businesses where they've got massive marketing teams spending millions of dollars a year through the clients who are really small, and the marketing might be done by the salesperson. But you'll get to a point where they're very good at just churning out stuff. You'll often hear clients saying, we need to execute better. But I've found often that you get to a point where poor execution can be an entirely rational consequence to an unclear direction. If you were to take, even if it was a brand document, or you were to go and ask 5 very smart people in this company about what is your strategy, those 5 people would probably interpret that in a very different way. So you'd probably end up getting 5 interpretations of the same thing. So I've always found for me that often you'll get clients who are very good at execution stuff, but execution problems for me that will always start upstream. It's not clarity and simplification for its own sake. More businesses struggle to be sufficiently clear on what problem are we actually solving, what are we trying to achieve, what matters most, and that could be what matters most to us, what matters most to the company, what matters most to the customer, what have we decided to do, and what have we not decided to do. Now, I would imagine if you were to go into most companies and ask those questions, it would be difficult to get really concise answers from everyone within the SLT or anyone who was heading up any department. And because of that, you get to a problem where people are not clear on where the company is trying to go, what is their value, why should people choose them. No one's clear or can articulate that in a way that is easy for everyone to understand. If you can't understand it internally, how the hell do you think a customer who's going to give you 3 minutes of thought potentially every 2 years is going to understand that? And that for me is always the problem, because you hear it a lot. We need to execute better. And I'm like, yeah, but are you clear on what you're executing and why you're doing it and what you're trying to achieve? So for me, it's that sense of you can't execute clearly against an ambiguous decision. For you as a leadership team, you've got to be very clear on all of these things. What is it that makes successful companies successful? And of course, it's not one thing, it's a whole host of things, but typically, the whole host of things are executed to a very clear plan and strategy. Everyone knows their role. Whether you're marketing, sales, operations, logistics, they're all very clear on what they're trying to do. I just find not enough companies do that. When you get down into smaller, medium-sized companies, which, let's be honest, is most in New Zealand, if you go in, and I've met loads, can you tell me your business strategy? Like, where are you trying to go? And of course, because my history has always been in brand and marketing, people will come to me when they think they've got a marketing problem. If you think about marketing, of course, you'll think of obviously the traditional 4 Ps. Now, product, well, they all work for companies that make product. They all sell them for a price. They all sell them somewhere, and they all do promotion. Now, everyone always thinks that the marketing is just the promotion. They forget about all the other stuff. Of course, this impacts the value of marketing in organizations big and small. But when you speak to smaller businesses, they don't have a plan. They just build something, and it's working, so they just keep on doing it. But when you try to nail them down for something that provides genuine clarity, most businesses, I believe, will struggle to answer that question. But what you'll find then is you have execution problems because upstream they're not clear on those important things like what is our value? Why should people choose us? How do we build memory? How do we build preference? How do we build access? How do we build consistency? How do we build an experience that proves what we say we're going to do? I find if you're not clear on those, it makes everything else so much harder to properly execute and deliver. Which, of course, then impacts a business's ability to grow effectively and efficiently.
When a business leader says, we're working harder than ever, but not seeing the results we'd expect, what's usually going on beneath the surface?
Clarity also helps you understand what are the things that will be most impactful to the business. How do we measure those things to ensure that what we're doing is working or not working? I think not enough businesses are doing that. It gets to a point where I think it's very easy for people to be busy. It's very easy for people to launch another campaign, change the website, hire someone, commission some research, structure the team, restructure the team, change the brand, post more content. It's very easy to do those sorts of things. But if you're not clear on why you are, you're just spinning on the wheel. You're not actually making any positive impact on the business because you're just doing too many things. You don't know what's working. If you don't have that clarity up front, often the wheels will just be spinning and you won't be going anywhere. And I think that's probably a big problem for most business leaders. They'll say, everyone's working really hard. Everyone tells me they're overworked, but we're just not getting the results. And occasionally it'll be, well, what is it that you're actually doing? Can you tell me why you're doing it? And do you have the right measurement in place to see if it's working? And I think most business leaders won't know that.
One of the themes that runs through some of your work is this idea of getting to the root cause of a problem. Why do organizations so often end up treating the symptoms instead?
The reason why diagnosis is uncomfortable is because it can reveal the problem, and it might not be something they'd assumed, or it might be something they'd known, but it was scary, it was big. Often people don't want to do diagnosis work because they're going to get found out, or they're going to highlight things that might be costly or time-consuming, or they'll have to bring in other people to help. Businesses don't do proper diagnosis to understand what's actually happening, but they're very good at being busy solving problems. But they're often really bad at solving the right one. Most businesses, if you go in there, they'll highlight a plethora of things that are wrong. But because they don't do a good diagnosis and understand what is actually happening, they'll find themselves fixing things that are not that impactful to the business. Trying to get to the root causes. Those are the things you want to solve first. And often you'll find when you solve those, a lot of the other ones will just take care of themselves. Even when you get into diagnosis, proper clarity is really important there too. It's not easy to do that. It takes time. It takes hard questions. Sometimes people are going to be to blame. It can be very uncomfortable. I suppose the most common one you'll ever come across is the rebrand, right? Like people assume there's something wrong. Oh, well, this must be our brand. People aren't buying us. We've got to do a whole big rebrand. And then they change everything and any equity they had in the old brand goes. Businesses will normally have a problem in probably one of 6 areas. The first thing I would always start with people is, what is your value? What is your value to the customer? What is your value to the market? And are you creating something genuinely worth choosing? Because that's normally where people will start. But of course, that again is a hard thing to look into for some people. So they'll just go with, oh, maybe we just need to change our website, or we've got to get a new salesperson, or sales are down, it's sales' fault. Marketing's not working, it's marketing's fault. The next thing you'll probably find is that people will be doing all of this work, but they're not actually building memory in prospective buyers' minds. So that's, again, a problem that businesses will often, we've done a great job of building access, we've got a great experience, but no one knows who we are. But again, if you're not clear on what that is, you may well go and fix something else that's not really beneficial to the business. The next thing for me in that regard would be, are we building preference? Are you giving people a reason to choose you over any other brand? And again, if you're not clear on what that is, you may well go and fix something else that you think might solve the problem, but what your biggest problem is, you're not building preference enough for people to choose you. I would also say that often you'll find people do a marketing job, but they'll have an access issue. Is it easy for people to buy you? Easy to find you? And again, people will do a massive big rebrand, but it's just the buying process is shit. Or it's really cumbersome, or there's too much friction, I don't want to have to deal with it. The other thing where I think people come unstuck a lot, they'll do a whole big rebrand, but their experience is terrible. So they'll do a great job of the good value, but what they actually delivered, the experience side of the business is broken. The customer service is terrible, or the after sales is terrible, or the fulfillment process is terrible. But if you're not clear on those things, you're going to be doing all of this work here, but the problem is actually here. And then you've got the last thing for me where I think about consistency, and do you reinforce this time and time again? When you think about one of the issues that you'll have with rebrand, when you change all of that, you're losing consistency. And it's understanding in the business of where are our problems? What is the root cause that we're trying to solve? How can we fix that? And how is it impactful to the business? Is it a value thing? Is it a memory thing, preference thing, access thing, experience thing, or consistency thing? I don't think businesses are probably putting enough time into understanding where the symptoms are, what are the problems, what are the root causes, how do we solve those, all in a way to build a better, stronger business.
Do organizations sometimes confuse being busy with momentum?
Yes, businesses love doing things because doing feels productive, right? People focus just on tactics. We'll just do more and more and more and more and more. We're moving, we're busy, but you're not going anywhere. That's because the diagnosis and the strategy parts haven't been done, and people are just doing as much execution as they possibly can, thinking that's going to solve the problem. If you don't have that clarity around where we're going, how we're going to win, what is our value, you will find yourself doing lots of stuff, but you're not actually getting any momentum. You're not going anywhere because you're not clear on what is the problem you're trying to solve, both from the customer point of view, category point of view, business point of view. Where is your value? Why would people choose you? How can you make that clear and simple so everyone understands it and the business wraps around delivering it? How can you do all of that stuff? That is difficult. Whereas just churning out more stuff is an easy thing to do, which is why I think there's a difference between do all that stuff up front. You'll be busy, but you'll hopefully be getting momentum. You'll be going somewhere because you're doing all the right stuff versus we're just really busy doing lots of stuff, spinning our wheels, but we're not really sure why and what we're measuring, but we know we're not going anywhere.
How then can a leadership team tell whether they're genuinely making progress or simply generating activity?
If you've done good diagnosis and you've got a strategy in place and the tactics are your way of delivering that strategy to the market, it's much easier for you then to put the right measurement in place. Take brand as an example. Most companies don't do any brand activity whatsoever. It's just all bottom of the funnel stuff. Because, of course, brand is seen as unnecessary, wishy-washy, soft, heartfelt stuff. Who cares? No one cares. We'll just do more sales because we can see immediate return. But if you take brand now, of course, there's loads of really affordable tools to track how your brand is performing in relation to your competitor set. But what I will find for most businesses, and again, this is businesses big and small, they don't give enough time to understanding where they are. If you're trying to go somewhere you've never been before, and you punch into Google Maps where you're going, you don't then just select some random place miles away to what your starting point. You start from where you actually are. But what I find most leadership teams do, they won't be clear on where they are right now. They'll just start doing more busy without understanding where are we in the mind of our buyers? Where are we in relation to our competitors? What is our value? How much memory have we built? Do we have any preference? Is our access working? Is the experience everything we said it was going to be? I don't think companies have a good enough understanding of where we are today, never mind a clear view of where we're going. So I think if you're not clear on where you are and where you're going and how you're going to get there, it's very hard for companies to truly understand, are they making progress or are they simply being busy? You need to go through that process of doing proper diagnosis to understand where you are and then putting in place a plan and a strategy to get you to where you want to go. And then making sure you have the right tactics to deliver that and the right measurement in place to demonstrate whether it's working or not. Most companies will just get busy doing tactics. They won't do all of that other stuff. And that's the problem. You've got to do the hard work first, being clear on where you are, where you want to go, how you're going to get there, and how you're going to measure it. That's what companies need to do. Most companies don't do any of that work. That's why they're just really, really busy generating lots of activity. You've got to do that work up front first.
What are those signs that you're actually moving forward?
Obviously, the cold hard facts are revenue. Is the business performing? Are our sales going up? Is our margin going up? Is our profitability going up? Are we retaining customers? Are we getting new customers? Those new customers, are we having to discount to get them, or are we charging them full price? Is our cost per sale increasing? Is our profit increasing? That would be the business side. Then from a brand side, you obviously want to look at, well, is our brand health improving? So do more people know about us? Do more people prefer us? Are we being considered? Are we preferred? So take care of the brand side. Is that improving? And of course, those are things that will take time to improve. But again, you can track that on a quarterly basis, an annual basis. Track it every 2 years if you want to. That's fine. But you want to get an understanding, is our brand improving? Is our business performance improving? Those would be two things you want to look at. If, of course, you've got to a point where brand is improving, but sales aren't, there'll be other problems. Like maybe your value is not right. Maybe your access isn't good enough. It's too hard for people to find and buy you. Or maybe you'll find your experience is shit. You're getting people to come in, they're buying once, but because the experience is dreadful, they're leaving again. So those are the things I would say people want to look at. But to do this properly, you've got to do the work up front.
You've written that marketing only earns its keep when it changes a decision, which is a pretty provocative statement. What do you mean by it?
I would go back a step and say strategy exists to change a decision. Whether that's business strategy, brand strategy, marketing strategy. A strategy isn't valuable because it's clever. A research report isn't valuable because it contains an insight. A marketing plan isn't valuable because it's comprehensive. The value lies in the decisions it enables. Insight without consequence is just trivia. Right? It should inform and influence a decision. Strategy doesn't earn its keep in the boardroom. It's the sort of thing that earns its keep in the decisions that people make afterwards. So any strategy should inform decisions. What will we do? What won't we do? Why will we do that? Why won't we do that? And what will the impact be? So I'm very much of the mind that strategy is there to help inform someone to either decide to do something or not to. That way, good strategy earns its keep.
What decisions should great marketing actually be helping organizations make in terms of the what to do and what not to do?
Businesses have got two jobs, marketing and innovation. In most organizations, marketing only fulfills the promotional P. They're not really involved in the other things. And of course, that's a problem. But when I think about marketing done well, marketing should have a very prominent role in deciding on what is the value we're creating. We've analyzed the market, we've spoken to the customers, we understand our competition, and we understand how we can win. That would be valuable to a business. We understand how we can make value that is genuinely choosable so that we can sell that product and make revenue and profit for you. That's the first thing. I then think, of course, when you get more into the memory preference side of things, obviously marketing is responsible for that. We're going to go out to the market and we're going to increase memory. We're going to make it easy for people to think about us. Why is that important? Well, the more people that think about us, the more people who can buy us, the more opportunity we're creating. The next thing, of course, you then want to think about is how can you make sure people prefer and choose you? Well, we're going to help increase preference for us, and this is how we're going to do it. If we increase our preference, then hopefully we'll increase our opportunity and more people will choose us. The access thing is interesting too, because if you think of most places now, like where people buy, often marketing is not involved. It's the salespeople or it's the people who are in charge of merchandising. But again, I would be of the mind of good marketers should be involved in that. This is what the store is going to look like. This is how they're going to find us. This is what the website is going to look like. This is how they're going to find that. This is how we're going to do fulfillment. Clearly making it easier for people to buy you and find you and buy you. That's a good marketing job and valuable to a business. Marketers should be involved in that. The same thing, of course, from an experience point of view. If you're going out into the marketplace saying you're delivering this, a good marketer should be responsible for the experience of we're going to ensure we live up to that every single time. Whether it's sales, whether it's logistics, whether it's aftercare or customer service, you've all got to deal and demonstrate to the world that we deliver this time and time again. And of course, that's valuable to a business. Why? Because it will help with retention. I mean, you'll probably have to spend slightly less on getting new customers because the experience is so good that when they come, they'll stay. And then I also think that marketers' role is to ensure that businesses consistently deliver on all of this stuff. Good marketers should steward an organization to a way where we're going to deliver on all of this stuff time and time again. Why? Well, because we're going to increase all of those things, which will increase our revenue, which means we can hopefully charge a premium. We'll make more margin. We'll make more profit. Again, that's valuable to a business.
I've been hearing a lot recently about the term strategy is sacrifice. And you've argued that if a strategy doesn't cost you something, it probably isn't a real strategy. What do you mean by that?
It's easier to make an 80 to 90 page strategy document. We're going to grow customers, we're going to improve retention, we're going to expand into new markets, we're going to launch new products, we're going to increase premiumization, we're going to build awareness. That's a wish list. It's not a strategy. It's the same thing as when you speak to people, who's your target audience or everyone. But if you're just starting out, particularly if you're just starting out, you can't be for everyone because you simply don't have enough money to tell everyone that you exist. You've got to do proper segmentation and targeting to identify who are the people you want to go after. But the problem, of course, of that is that strategy is always allocating finite resources, right? Everyone's got a finite amount of money, and strategy's role is to allocate that in the most effective ways. But to do that means sometimes you have to say no, because you can't do everything. If your strategy hasn't made anything harder to do, you probably haven't made a choice. Good strategy means you've got to say yes to things, but you've probably got to say no to more things. That's sacrifice.
You've written about what you call the courage gap. What is that?
Knowing the right decision, it's intellectually easier than making it emotionally. Most marketers will probably know their brand has become generic. They'll know they're discounting too much. They'll know they have too many priorities. They'll probably know they're doing safe, crave work. What I find often is that people don't lack. Like, the lack isn't another PowerPoint presentation or another deck proving stuff. The lack is a willingness to accept that there's consequences of acting. It's quite hard to put yourself above the parapet and back yourself and make a decision. Even when marketers know they should do it, they don't back themselves to do so. It's easier just to stay with the status quo and just keep doing what you're doing. You'll probably not set the world on fire, but you probably won't lose your job. And that for me is a difference between the knowledge gap and the courage gap. People will know, but it's often very hard to back yourself when you know it's visible. And if it doesn't go well, it's going to come back on you.
What's a decision business leaders delay far longer than they should?
I think sunken cost bias is real, right? We're humans. We hold on to things much longer than we should. When times are economically tough, most people will turn things off. Marketing is the first thing to go. And in large part, that's because marketing is not well understood enough in the business and it is just the promotional P. They're not involved in all the other stuff. And it's very easy to go, times are tough, we're going to turn that off. That's for me is one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of businesses doing. But I understand it. If you look at a P&L of most companies, marketing is a pretty big expense. But the ones who normally weather the storm better are the ones who actually either keep investment the same or invest a little bit more. So let's take the 95-5 rule. The 95-5 rule means that in any given quarter, only 5% of people are in market to buy now. The other 95% of people aren't. Now, if you were to be a small business and you were thinking, oh, times are tough, we're going to start to reduce our spend and we'll just focus on that 5% of people right now and we'll just do whatever we can, potentially through search or performance-based media. We'll just try and convert as many people as possible, but we'll stop all the other stuff that we were doing that was speaking to the 95% of people who are not in market right now. Say you do that for a quarter. Like times are tough, you're going to stop it for a quarter. What you'll find is the memory of your brand will start to decay over that time. And of course, all your other competitors are fighting in that 5% too, because they're doing the same thing. Everyone's gone, times are tough, the market's declining, we'll all stop our spend, we'll just focus on the little 5% of people and just do our activity there. Of course, that gets highly competitive there, and all you can really do to win there is probably drop your prices. That's what'll win. But as your memory and your brand health starts to decline, when you want to come back on again, you'll find you'll need to spend probably 2 or 3 times as much as you were going to spend to get yourself back up to where you were before. So it becomes very expensive. What would be better is just to reduce that spend slightly so that you're still finding ways to speak to the 95% of people so that when the market picked back up again, you were the brand that still had disproportionate share of mind. So hopefully you could win disproportionate share of market when the market started to pick up. So I do think when times are tough, businesses should continue to invest if they can or find a way to. I also do think that most brands are average, most products are average, most values average, and let's be honest, most advertising and marketing is average. It's a kind of repeated problem where leadership, not just marketing, but certainly SLT and boards, either don't understand or misunderstand the value that quality creative, properly funded, can have on the strength of a business, both in the near term and the long term. It would be awesome if we could fix that.
You've suggested that many organizations mistake branding for visibility. Is there a difference between being known and being chosen?
Think about a big category that you know well. Like you may well be able to reel off 10 or 15 brands that you know in that category, but you're only going to buy one of them. And that's the important thing when you get to preference. Memory's good, right? You have to be known. Like you can't sell a secret. People have got to know you to buy you. But let's be honest, most categories are not just one person. But you've got to get to a point of how can we ensure that we are the preferred brand? And that's what brand building does. That's its whole purpose, is to ensure that not only are we known and our value is clear, but people prefer us. So when they come into the market, they choose us.
You've written that distinctiveness gets you noticed and differentiation gets you chosen. Why do you think businesses so often confuse the two?
I guess it's simplest. They both involve difference, like a point of distinction, something that's going to help you win. And I think that's probably why they do get confused. There's no denying distinctiveness is the easier of the two. Because distinctiveness will normally come in how you're packaged. So whether that is actually the packaging or just how distinctive your marketing is so that it stands out, so that people see you and know you. If you were to go and speak to Byron Sharp at the Edinburgh Bass Institute, he would probably say differentiation doesn't really exist because if you look at most categories, most products are all exactly the same. They did some research where they went and asked customers in all those categories a simple question: is your brand unique or different in any way? And the vast majority, like 70 to 85% of people said no. But the reason often why they chose that brand is because it was distinctive, not because it was differentiated. It was distinctive because they had funny advertising that was memorable or their packaging was really, really different. There'll be something that is distinctive against the competitor set. That's the easier thing to probably achieve. Differentiation is more in the value. Is our value genuinely different from everyone else in the category so that we're actually creating something that is a differentiated proposition? That's the separation of the two. But I think they get confused because they both involve a difference between you and your competitor set. In an ideal world, you'll probably do both.
Can a business survive with one but not the other?
You can survive just fine without differentiation. If you don't have differentiation, you sure as hell better have distinctiveness. Now, I know I'm going to slightly contradict myself right now. If you go back to that sea of sameness thought, in most categories, most brands offer the same kind of value and they present it in exactly the same way. Now, you can still go make a successful business that way, but if you want to make a really successful business, it would be helped to have a differentiated value, like genuine reasons or genuine value why people should choose you, and you want to do it in a distinctive way. So that it's really easy for people to know you, understand you, prefer you, and then, of course, buy you. But can you make a successful business without either of them? Of course you can, because most businesses don't have differentiation or distinctiveness, and they're doing just fine.
You've written recently about brands now needing to win both human preference and machine preference. What does that mean?
We are definitely seeing this starting to grow more. So you've got human preference and machine preference. And it's partly because of AI's ever-growing impact in how people find new products and make choices. Brands still need people to know them. Like, brands still need people to trust them, remember them, want them. That sort of thing won't change, particularly when you get into those higher interest categories. Even if your AI served up 4 or 5 different options for you to choose, you would probably still gravitate towards a brand you knew. And that's why I think as we get more into AI, the role of brand building will become all the more important, because you've got to, particularly in high interest categories, you've got to make sure that people know who you are, trust you, desire you, prefer you. All that stuff will still happen. The next side of the fence, of course, will be what I class as like machine preference. So you're still going to be able to get to a sense where even the machine is going to need to understand who you are, what you do, who you're for, why you're credible, what evidence exists, what do independent sources say about you. Like, you're still going to have to build all of that. Did you have the right information? Did you build trust? Did you build preference? Were people clear about your value? All that sort of stuff. You're going to have to make sure in the future that you do that for machines so that they service you up. Because right now, of course, machines will go to a website, they'll troll the internet to serve up the best options to this user. I'm going to have to go out into the internet and find out who are the best brands. So you're going to have to give the machine all the right information. When I think about AI's role, you would get that sense of, how did people discover us? You'd probably go from, the customer would see something about us, they would go to Google, then they would go to the website, then they'd make a decision. What's happening now, of course, is the customer wants something, they're then going to AI, the AI recommends something, and then it makes a decision. Right now, you're still seeing those two things play out together, which is why human preference is still important. And then AI preference, of course, is going to get ever more important because people will be using them. That dual model of building preference is so important. Even like an AI agent, still going to go out into the internet, scroll websites, scroll reviews, scroll Reddits, scroll all of that to try and serve up and buy the best products. So businesses are going to have to do what they can to make sure that they're doing a really good job of building brand for the human, but making sure that all of the data on their company and their value and their offers and their services and their products is properly structured so that an AI agent can find it and the AI agent can prefer you over any of the competition. And that's why I think that dual preference model is going to become so important, particularly as more and more people start to outsource stuff to agents. The agent's going to have to be able to find your brand. It's going to have to understand who you are, what you do, who you're for, why you're credible, what evidence exists about you, so that it serves up the best result to their customer.
AI is making content, design, communications, and arguably strategy dramatically easier to produce. Does that make human strategy more important or less important?
I think considerably more important. Considerably so. I've played with all the tools. I understand what it can churn out, but you get to a point where it's very easy for it to pump out stuff that's usable. But I do think where the human will become more and more important is in judgment. That sense of knowing what deserves to exist. What problem matters most? What's true? What's distinctive? What should we ignore? What decision to make? There's no denying now that with AI, you've access to all of the world's knowledge. You're still going to need some human judgment and then, of course, the confidence to act on that. And I think that's where, a good strategist, good consultants can still earn their weight in gold, because there'll be a case of, look, we understand your problem. We understand where you should focus. We understand what's happening within your organization. We understand how to rally humans around a central idea of we're all going in the same place and we're going to get there. I still think it will be really valuable for businesses to have that, particularly as most businesses don't have those things in place anyway. There's probably two arguments when I think of AI, right? The first one is supply. So AI definitely makes producing things extraordinarily cheap. So whether that's words, strategy, images, research summaries, presentations, content, it's very cheap. Like anyone can do that now, right? Businesses big and small. So therefore, resource is not the issue now. I do think judgment is the problem. Your competitors can all go into the same tools, punching exactly the same thing, get exactly the same strategies. So you're all doing exactly the same stuff again. What's going to help you be distinctive? What's going to help you be differentiated? I still like to think there is a greater need when you've got all of the world's information at your fingertips instantly. Having judgment, empathy, understanding at a human level, I think is still going to be really important.
If there's one thing that every business leader watching this today should take away from our conversation, Gareth, what should it be?
I would say, before asking what should we do, spend a little longer asking what is actually going on. Because in my mind, the quality of your decisions can never consistently exceed the quality of your diagnosis. Businesses aren't built by one brilliant decision. They're built by thousands of reasonably good decisions that point roughly in the same direction. But for me, if you don't do that proper thinking up front, you're just going to be doing a whole host of things. You're not really sure where it's going. If a business has clarity and they're clear on where they're going, that should be exactly what happens. Like people should be able to make hundreds of decisions every day, but all still going in the same direction. You should think of strategy as an organizational decision system rather than a document or a plan or a piece of intellectual thinking. It should bring together clarity, diagnosis, choices, courage, brand, and your whole system view in how you will build a better business.
I think what's stood out from this conversation with you today, Gareth, is that most organizations don't suffer from a shortage of activity. They suffer from a shortage of clarity. The challenge isn't usually knowing more, creating more plans, or launching more initiatives. It's understanding the problem well enough to make the right decision. Because every decision creates a consequence. Every consequence compounds over time. And ultimately, the quality of a business is often the cumulative result of the decisions it chooses to make. Gareth, thanks so much for joining me.
You are very welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to chat.